Hello, before you begin watching this discussion, I wanted to record a brief introduction to the discussion to provide some basic background as to what's going on here. The gentleman I'm speaking with, Mike, is somebody who has wrestled with faith and has found himself meandering between different religious traditions, going in and out of atheism, finding himself as a Catholic, as a Protestant, and now some kind of deist. Now, with respect to his understanding of the nature of God, that's the primary topic and subject of the discussion. I did take a more aggressive position in this discussion than is typical. Not to say that I'm not aggressive in some cases, quite frequently, but more so than probably is acceptable. I tried to be patient with him, but I had taken some opportunity to review some video footage that he had produced on a YouTube with respect to how he felt was the best way to interact with Latter-day Saints. I found the video that he had produced with some missionaries. Granted, this is over 20 years ago that he had this discussion with them. And then the subsequent commentary that he added to it, I found it pretty egregious, especially in the way that he misrepresents Latter-day Saint beliefs in the video. So I'm going to provide a brief segment of that discussion at the foreground of this discussion so that you can watch and see what I'm referencing as I do make references to the discussion. So just as an aside, I did use some curt language, which I did bleep out or silence, but not because I'm one that really is sensitive to being offended by that, but that I know some people might be. So I decided to redact the language that I use that might be a little harsh in this discussion. Anyways, hopefully it's informative. I did take a little bit more aggressive position. I am talking significantly about the biblical texts, what their position is in Latter-day Saint context, and why it is that we need to be careful with the way that we view them. So the biblical texts are scripture, certainly, but scripture doesn't mean God wrote the texts. It doesn't mean that he told the author to write every word in the text. God filters his understanding and his word and the will that he gives us through the human instruments that he calls as prophets. God trusts and entrusts them with his people. And it's important to remember that. And so I do believe that God is in all things, and I believe that he is directing the affairs of human beings. But again, humans have a great deal of agency, which God doesn't interfere with as a consequence of the directive that he has, that I gave unto men their agency, and that he doesn't take it away from us or rob us from it. And that was the reason for which the adversary was originally cast out, is because he sought to destroy our agency by removing from us the ability to choose between both good and evil. So it's important for us to recognize that the scriptural texts are human beings, including those who lead large groups of God's people, wrestling with a large number of issues and circumstances that are contextual to their day. And don't lose sight of that. I think that a lot of people who critique the biblical texts fail to understand that these are complicated narratives. They are composite narratives largely, where people are putting together a story for the sole purpose of trying to direct the people who are in a covenant relationship with God back to fealty and a subordinate relationship with their God. So please keep in mind that that's what I'm talking about largely. I think that some of that was unclear as I discussed. People might get the wrong impression about what I was talking about as I critique and examine the biblical text from the historical perspective that I usually try to take. Anyways, hopefully the discussion is informative and not too difficult to listen to, as sometimes my discussions can be. Thanks.
I think the average person knows very little about Mormonism. So here's the deal, what they believe in the first few minutes, and then discussions with Mormons and ex-Mormons on whether this belief system is true. The Mormons practice the tradition of having their men, at age 19 or so, go out for 2 years of dedicated missionary work. My first conversation is with two such young men from Utah stationed here in Massachusetts. For our first meeting, I just asked questions and didn't press any issues yet. What convinces you your religion is true?
And that's what it all boils down to. We know that the Book of Mormon is the Word of God, and because we know that Joseph Smith was a prophet, because he's the one that translated the book for us, and that he organized this church, therefore this is the church. All by reason of prayer.
So you know it's the Book of God because you've read it and prayed about it?
Yep.
What is the biggest misconception people have about Mormonism?
A lot of people in the world seem to believe that we're not Christians,
Mm-hmm.
where that is definitely not the case. As the name implies, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we do believe in Jesus Christ. Our church is centered around and focused on Jesus Christ.
Okay, that's the name. That's what you call yourselves and you see
Right.
yourselves as, but the mainstream Christianity would say your concept of Jesus is different than the true concept of Christian Jesus or real Jesus.
What concept?
Oh, I know that. I've read some articles where Christians say that the Mormon Church is not a Christian church.
Basically, the Christian Jesus is the Son of God, but is also God himself as part of the Trinity. God with a capital G. He created the world and is our Savior. The Mormon Jesus is the Son of God, but he is not God himself. He is not God with a capital G. He didn't create the world. He is himself a created and saved being. So the Mormon Jesus represents God, but is not God himself. The Mormon law of health.
Are there sanctions if you do? If you catch somebody having a cup of coffee, do you just sort of look at them, or do you report them?
So every person's responsible for their own
sins.
sins.
If I were good friends with you, and I saw you doing that, maybe I would feel comfortable to say, hey, that's against the word of wisdom. Or if I was close enough to you, do that.
Mormons present their religion as rather tolerant and non-judgmental, but I don't think that's the case at all. Eventually, you'll find out it is quite judgmental, because their progress as Mormons depends very much on their observance of the things they're supposed to do, like observing the laws of health, attending services, tithing, doing their missionary work, etc., etc. If a Mormon son or daughter decided not to go on their mission, that is a major deal. Mormonism is not a liberal, laissez-faire type religion. They expect you to be committed. Your missionary experience.
Majority of the time is spent actually teaching people the gospel.
People you've already made contact with?
Yeah.
And it isn't always through knocking on doors. I mean, there's many methods. I mean, if you've seen the TV ads, the advertising.
Yes, yeah, that's how I got my Book of Mormon. Yep.
Yeah, many different ways where people hear about the church and then want to learn more, and we're the people that teach them.
So when they have a TV ad and they get people with requests that come into like a central office, I guess,
Right.
and then they send those back out to the people in the areas where those requests came from.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's very organized, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
It has to be very organized.
Yeah. I would think if I were in a group that was going around knocking on people's doors, it would be hard because a lot of them would just close the door in my face, and I would say, it's not much fun to be rejected a lot of times. So do you have to deal with that?
Of course,
Yeah.
it's tough sometimes. I will admit, but it is definitely worth it. You look at it now. Look at it, missionaries. When we're 19 years old, we can go out and do this, and we're the ones that do all of that. The church members don't go out. That's strictly missionaries themselves. We go out, knock on people's doors, and 19 years old. Of course, it's tough sometimes, but because of the message that we do share and carry about the Book of Mormon and Jesus Christ and a plan that our Heavenly Father has for us, it's too important to really let it get you down.
You guys have much fun?
Love it.
Yeah.
So you get fun out of your religious activities.
Oh wow, yes.
That's the church. The church to me is my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's centered around the church. All of it. That's where my happiness comes from. My greatest happiness.
Do you go to movies?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Well, not while we're on our missions, but
Not out here.
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
We spend our time strictly in sharing the gospel.
Wow. So it's almost like a
7 days a week.
Yeah.
We're out
Mhm.
9:30 in the morning till about 9:30 at night,
Wow.
with of course lunch and dinner breaks.
Women don't do this though.
They do.
Yeah.
You have women missionaries? Yeah.
Mormons regard women as equal to men but with different callings, which, curiously to me, tend to be callings to be unequal. My own views of the Bible, Jesus, and God.
So if you don't mind me asking,
Sure, yeah.
what do you feel about Jesus Christ? What are your thoughts?
I was hoping to say this the next time, but I think I have concluded. Well, further, let me back up all the way to when I was a kid. As brought up as a Catholic, I figured people are saying he is the Son of God, and it seems what he did. The story about Jesus is very impressive and very noble, and he sacrificed himself. He taught love. So it seems reasonable to me that that's God, or that's God's representative here on earth. Then as the years went along, first I rejected the Catholic faith for a number of reasons by the time I got to college. And then I became Protestant, and became more and more liberal Protestant as I figured certain things couldn't be true. You have to interpret them in a much more liberal way. And then the last few years, studying the Bible carefully, I've decided the whole thing doesn't make sense. And my conclusion about Jesus is that he wasn't the Son of God, but he was a misguided religious leader.
Just, do you mind me asking, say, resurrection?
I don't think he rose again from the dead. No.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one minister about why the reason I don't believe that he rose from the dead. First of all, people don't rise from the dead, so it would have to be something miraculous. If he did rise from the dead, then he would be the Son of God. So did he or didn't he? That depends on the rest of the Bible. Does the rest of the Bible make real good sense and show divine wisdom and is very consistent? If it is, okay, maybe he did rise from the dead. Maybe that was God. But I have found that the rest of the Bible doesn't make sense.
This discussion took place in the mid-90s. My assessment of the God issue is now a little more settled. I believe in the probability of a general God, not tied to any particular religion, a non-intervening God, an almost deistic God. Eternal progression. We begin our second meeting discussing eternal progression, the Mormon idea that we're on our way to becoming gods.
One thing you mentioned was that the biggest misconception of Mormonism is that people think it's not Christian. But to me, it seems like it's not Christian if, as I understand it, you believe in, I don't know how you term it, eternal progression, or that you're on your way to becoming God or godlike or something. So if we're all going to become, assuming we do the right things, if we're all going to become gods, then that's many gods instead of one God. So therefore, you are a different type of Christianity than regular Christianity.
Note how the two men try to avoid the topic at first, since eternal progression is a teaching that the Mormons do not like to tell newcomers. All the oddball theology comes later once you're already hooked in.
You see me?
Yes.
Well, I can barely hear you.
So I'm sorry. Can you adjust your volume?
Jeez. I knew something would go wrong. All right, here's the audio. There's an up arrow.
Yeah. Do you have headphones?
No.
That might be the problem. If you don't have
No.
headphones, the sound might not be good through your speakers on your computer.
Right now I can hear you okay.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's on your end. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah. You can hear me though?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, I can hear you pretty well right now. Not
Okay.
great, but pretty well.
Okay.
All right. All right. So, just to tell you a little bit about, you want to know a little bit about myself?
Uh,
Or-
if it's relevant to what we're going to talk about, whatever that is.
Oh, just one quick note that I started off Catholic. And as I grew up, I gave up Catholicism, became Protestant, and then decided the Christian God doesn't make sense to me. And I'm just
Okay.
going to believe in the God that I see.
Okay.
So that I'm a general theist. That's all I
Okay.
would do.
And how do you arrive at any knowledge of that God?
Uh, it wouldn't be knowledge, it would be best guess.
Okay.
Because you can't,
And
yeah, I've determined that you can't prove God or disprove God. You just by
so,
your own lights make
yeah.
your best decision.
So what's the functional purpose of believing in that God?
Um, to know, not to know, but to feel that there's an ultimate purpose and grounding for everything, and
So
that
it's just a
everything
matter
you
of
do in this life counts.
it's a matter of your feelings.
Pardon?
It's something that helps you with your feelings.
Uh, it's a little bit more intellectual. I mean, it's good to know
What's intellectual about it?
what's intellectual about.
Yeah, so if I believe in a God, that there can't be any ascertainable information about that God other than just
Yeah,
whatever I think, what is intellectual about that?
well, it's hard to answer that question. I feel it's much more likely there is a creator for everything.
Right, but that's just feelings. That's not intellectual.
No, that's intellectual. That's not fair. No, I mean, it doesn't. Well, let me put it this way. I find I cannot believe in the Muslim God or the Hindu gods
Why
or the
not?
Christian God because there's
Why
too many
can't
things
you?
wrong with them.
What's wrong with the Muslim? What's wrong with Allah?
The Muslim, all right, the biggest thing wrong with the Muslim God is that he's constantly threatening hell. And I think that's not, I think if there is a God,
Well, I
he has to be not that mean. So I think the Christian God is mean.
so you believe that if the deity doesn't universally allow people to do whatever they want
No,
and live
no,
however they
no, no, no,
want,
no, no, no.
that
Why are you saying that?
no, well, I'm
I
just
didn't say
trying to
whatever they want.
no, I'm just trying to understand. So Islam believes
Yeah,
that that God has certain rules for how to live your life, and
right.
those rules in some way connect you to this deity.
If
And
I
if you
was
don't,
if I was Muslim, yeah.
if you don't live your life according to these rules. Now, they don't believe you have to necessarily be a Muslim in order to live these rules, that any person can live them, and that God judges you predicated on what you know and whether you live them. And if you did, so for example, if you're doing things in violation of God's laws or rules and you're doing so ignorantly, then God will be more lenient towards you because
Well,
of your ignorance. You can't be held accountable for things that you don't know.
yeah,
And so
but
in
in
that sense, he
Christianity,
expends justice.
okay, well, regardless, he has a hell, which means I cannot accept him, and he's male chauvinistic, which means I cannot accept him.
Well,
So that's why I don't.
Muslim women would agree with you that he's
Yeah, I had a
chauvinistic.
cousin who was married to a Muslim, and she was an
Well,
educated woman, and she ended up doing nothing but staying home and serving tea. So
Well,
she left.
that's maybe what she wanted to do, or maybe she didn't. But either way, deciding that somebody who lives a certain way doesn't choose to live that way, I think is a little bit bigoted.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, yeah. Well, isn't Christianity? Well, doesn't Christianity say if I don't believe in Jesus, I'm going to hell?
I mean, I'm not a Protestant or a Catholic, and Latter-day Saints have a different understanding of the nature of punishment if you don't obey God than hell. We don't necessarily believe in the Christian version of hell.
But you
But
believe in
yes,
hell?
I think that the idea that there is some kind of place of eternal conscious torment, I think is reprehensible, and I don't believe in that.
But you have to because Jesus taught it.
I don't have to because he didn't teach it.
Yes, he did.
No,
He
he did
talks
not.
about flames. He talks about
He talks
uh,
about suffering. He talks about suffering in a context that has to do with when you are unlike God and you choose to live apart from God, that you will feel adversely as a consequence of that decision.
you
And
will
that's what he's
suffer
doing.
extremely.
He's emphasizing the alternative to obeying God is not preferable to obeying God. But no, there is no place called hell in the Bible.
Yes, there is.
I don't think, no, there's not. I mean, you may have been indoctrinated into that idea
No, no,
as a
I go
result of
strictly by
your
the Bible. No,
as a
I go
result of
strictly by
your
the Bible.
Yeah, no, I know you don't, because if you went strictly by the Bible, you would know that there's no such thing as the Christian version of hell, and that conceptualization of hell is a development in the Middle Ages historically. The biblical texts have no conceptualization of a Christian hell. That is a product of later inventions, just like the Trinity. The Trinity is an invention that was developed it's a
I would,
post-biblical invention.
I would agree with you with the Trinity, but Jesus talks about the goats and the sheep, human beings.
No, he talks about divisions, but he also talks about multiple levels of heavens. He talks about
Where does he
because
say that?
ancient well, he talks about in my father's house there are many mansions. If there were not, I would have told you. And then in the
But
ancient
he never,
Israel, Paul talks about a man who was taken to the third heaven. And so this concept of a tripart or multi-part heaven or reward in the afterlife is replete in Israelite thought. Some people believe that there were a seventh heaven, or that's where the idea of a seventh heaven comes from. In some ancient Jewish texts, there's as many as 9 or 27 heavens.
well, that didn't come across
Well, I
pretty
think I
clearly at
think that if
all.
you I think if you limit yourself to just the biblical text, you're not understanding the historical context of the biblical text, which is very important to understand. Because if you don't understand the context of the people who are writing the documents, you won't understand the documents.
No,
As a
I go
result of
strictly by
your
the Bible. But doesn't Revelation 2010 say certain people will be thrown into hell and be tormented forever?
It talks about Hades.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
it's
not there, not there.
no Hades. Yeah, no, there is no hell. The concept of hell is not found in the biblical text. The
Well, I don't
Hades
agree
is
with
just
you
the
at
land.
all.
Well, you cannot agree with me. That's fine. I'm correct and you're wrong. But the conceptualization of Hades is the underworld. It's the land of the dead. A
Yeah,
compartmentalization of
that's
that
there
with respect.
somewhere.
So, for example, in Luke, the parable of the rich man and Lazarus,
Yeah,
they're
well,
not. Yeah, that is a period of conscious suffering, but it's periodic. It's actually only for a time. So, if you read the Petrine epistles, for example, Jesus goes into Hades, the land of the dead, to release the dead from their torment.
but that in that parable, the rich man in hell, he says he is suffering
Well, he's
in
not
these
in. He's
flames.
not in hell. He's not in hell. He's in
But
suffering. He's in
well,
torment.
call it whatever
He's
you
in
want.
torment. No, no. It is important to understand that the conceptualization of hell, the way that Christians understand it, is not contained in Israelite texts, because
Not
the
an
Hebrew.
Israelite text.
No, no.
Jesus,
It's all Israelite texts because the texts were written by Israelites. Paul is an Israelite. Jesus is an Israelite. Jesus' followers are Israelites. All of the biblical texts are Israelite texts. They are from an Israelite perspective and in Israelite context. So you can't disconnect the New Testament from its progeny and origin found in the Hebrew scriptures and in the literature that's relevant to the centuries that precede the first century of CE. So
so there is no hell? Or
not the
does
way
hell
that
have
not the
different
way
levels?
that not the way you learned it as a Catholic, and not the way you would have learned it when you became a Protestant.
And not the way Jesus says, flames,
Jesus is
furnace,
Jesus is not
fire.
describing, yeah, Jesus is not describing a eternal conscious torment. He is talking about a state of punishment that exists for a temporary period of time after you pass away.
He doesn't say that. In Revelation, it says forever. Who will be
No,
tormented forever. It doesn't say
no.
you'll get
Yeah,
out.
yeah. because you will choose to separate yourself from God eternally, but that doesn't mean you go to some fiery furnace-y place
It
like in
says,
Dante's.
yes, it does. It says, it
Again,
uses the word torment.
it doesn't. And so
What?
you're imposing the contextualization of Dante's Inferno and the
No,
ideas that
no, 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 no,
are
no, no,
relevant to that
no,
into
no,
a
not,
text that
no.
doesn't espouse those ideals.
It's in
Anyway,
the Bible.
there's no point in arguing with me. I know more about this than you do. So
No, you don't.
if you want to go off onto some other topic, I'm welcome to
Let's
do
go on the
that.
second. Well, we disagree about this first topic. All right, let me get right to it on the terms of Mormonism. What made me
Well,
decide
when was the
Mormonism
last
can't?
time you read a scholarly work on the conceptualization and development of Hades and hell?
I don't have to read a scholarly work. I just have to use common sense and what
No,
it
you
says in the
don't.
Bible.
Actually, you
I
can't use
can't.
common. No, you can't. If you believe that, that is an ignorant thing to think, because if you believe that simply common sense can help you to understand 2,000-year-old documents written in a culture you don't understand, in a language you don't read, from a perspective that you have no clue what it is, if you
Well,
think you
that's
can
not
just
true.
use common sense and read it, that's
I've
absurd.
done a lot of reading.
There's a reason why there are biblical scholars who write
Yeah,
significantly and study significantly on these topics.
yeah, they're mostly Christian scholars, and they like to come
No,
to
they're not
Christian
Christian
conclusions.
scholars. They're not
What?
Christian scholars. No, biblical scholars, the majority of them are actually not Christian. They're
Oh, I don't know about that.
historians.
What?
Well, I know you don't know about that, but Bart Ehrman, for example, is the most prevalent New Testament scholar alive today, and he's an
Yeah,
atheist.
yeah, because he read the Bible, studied it, and decided it's not true.
No, he rejected the inerrancy claims that are found in most Protestant Christianity. People believe the Bible is inerrant, and it's not.
But it's not clear about hell. I
It,
mean,
it's
why does
very
the
it, it's very clear about Hades and the land of the dead.
oh, that's a murky place.
And remember, the biblical texts aren't a book; they're a collection of documents.
Yeah,
Each author has a different perspective. You don't mash them together and think that they tell one story, because they don't.
they don't. They
No,
contradict each other.
they are from a similar cultural context written by Israelites. So
Right.
they're going to have similar thematic
Yeah.
understanding, but across a thousand years, which is when the biblical texts they cover, you're going to have different perspectives across 1,000 years of time in any cultural context.
But these books are written by the inspiration of God. So they should be
Who
pretty
says that?
unified.
Who says that? Is that something you think?
Does God change? Does God change over the years?
Of course he does. He changes all the time. The
No, he
biblical
doesn't.
texts reflect that. Have you not read the Bible?
I've read it twice, cover to cover. I've
Okay,
studied it for decades.
maybe want to read it a little bit more, because in the ancient Israelite context, you have the covenant made with Abraham of circumcision and sacrifice. Then you have Moses after the children of Israel are taken into Egypt through Joseph at the end of Genesis. You have the Exodus, where Moses takes them out of out of Egypt through the Exodus, and then you have the Deuteronomistic and Levitical laws that are imposed. That reflects a change in the manner and methods in which God is interacting with the Israelites, or at least the
Okay,
God of Israel is interacting with the Israelites. Then, if you're a Christian, you have the New Covenant or the New Testament or the New Witness that's found in the Greek New Testament, where many provisions of the old law are done away, including circumcision, which was supposedly
that's a ritual. That's a
under
ritual.
Genesis. No, under Genesis, it was a covenant for all people for all time. And yet Paul abrogates that covenant and alters and amends it to be something completely different, and tells people they no longer need to be circumcised. That reflects a specific change. Now, if you're also a Christian, Jesus is God, and he's a spirit, and he enters into a mortal experience and becomes a human being. Then he dies, and he's resurrected with a glorified body of flesh and bone, and ascends back up to the throne of his Father. And if you've read Hebrews and Philippians, he is super exalted and sits at the right hand of his God and his Father. That reflects a significant number of changes of the deity throughout the text, in a
Well,
different number of circumstances and contexts.
that's all like theology going around.
It's not theology. That's actually just what the texts are saying. It has nothing to do with theology.
Oh,
You can be an
about
absolute
God,
atheist.
nothing.
You can be an atheist and not give two about God and still reach those conclusions.
So you don't think God's morality should stay the same?
God's morality is whatever in the biblical text, in the biblical context, morality is just whatever God tells you to do. That's
Okay,
moral.
all right. So if he tells you to slaughter a neighboring tribe,
Then that's what's
that,
moral because that's what God tells you to do.
well, that's insane. And that's immoral on your part.
It may be insane, but that doesn't change the fact that that's what the biblical texts reflect.
Well, then the biblical text is insane. It's
Yeah,
crazy, barbaric.
you can judge ancient people based on your current 21st century comfort and cushiness, and you can
Murdering
look back through the
somebody,
centuries.
may
You
I
can look
speak?
back through the centuries and judge them and say, hey, these ancient people going to war to protect their cultural context and to protect their families and to protect their lands,
They weren't
killing
protecting
and
their land.
killing
No, no,
neighbor,
no, because
no, wait,
you're talking over me all the
killing
time.
neighboring people is reprehensible to me because I don't
Yeah.
understand why they would have done it. So I'm going to judge them for what they did. That's fine. You can do that. But I don't think that's historically appropriate.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't think you
If
do. I don't think you're following me.
no, I'm not because it's completely off base.
It's not
Um,
off base. It's not off base to
so
take an
you think it's
ancient.
okay if God says so to kill a neighboring tribe who's not bothering you and kill them to women, children, infants?
Mike, you'd have to believe that. You would actually
Well, I don't
have to
have to
believe
believe
that.
that. I can believe in
Listen,
my own God.
Mike, no, look, if there is a God and
Yeah.
he tells you, go kill your neighbor, are you going to tell him no?
Yes, I'm going to say no.
Okay,
You're not God.
right. So if God, again, you're adding a different paradigm to the hypothetical. If there is a God and the God is the God, that means that God controls life and death. That
If you
means
get the
that
right
God,
God, you got to get the
that
right
means
God.
that, no, again, it means that that God has the capacity to give and to take life. And if he tells you to be the instrument of ending another person's life, that life is his prerogative to give and it's his prerogative to take.
That makes him a
Because
mean God.
again, that you think it's mean
It
is
is.
irrelevant
I
to,
don't think
again,
it's mean. It is
no,
mean.
what you're identifying is you're identifying a world in which God both exists and doesn't exist. That's what you're doing.
I don't know what you
Because
mean.
it's very simple. In the biblical texts, according to the story has rules. And in the story's rules, there is a God, and that God has a covenant with Israel. He is Israel's God. They
Yeah,
are
but
bound. Listen, they are
no,
bound by covenant.
you're
They are
preaching at me.
bound. No, I'm not preaching at you. I'm
You're
explaining
you're
to you.
well, you've said about 6 times things
Yeah,
more than I
they
have.
are, well, the purpose of this discussion wasn't so I could learn from you. Because
No?
I don't think you know more than I do.
Oh, I
So
do.
I doubt it.
About truth, not about little details and stuff.
Okay, so you don't know much about the details. You know about general truth. Okay, let's go there. But
No,
here, I'm going to finish because
yeah,
the idea is that in the story that is found in the biblical narratives,
yeah,
there is a God and there's a
yes,
people, and that God owns that people. That
yeah.
people have to do whatever that God says.
No,
You
if he
can
says
say,
murder
look,
somebody, you don't have to do it. You
it's
can say
not
you're
murder.
not God.
No, it's not
Can I
murder.
make my point, please?
Because your point is absurd and it's extra contextual because it's an atheist argument imposed in the context that a God exists. It's like this. It's like saying, when I read Harry Potter, there's no wizards. Well, in the story of Harry Potter, there's wizards. There
Well, then
are
I say,
actually
okay, all right,
wizards.
let me make a
Right.
point.
So if you're
Can I make a
actually a
point?
wizard, you can't say, well, that's absurd. No,
Yeah,
it's
I
not,
can
because
say.
they're wizards. They
I can
actually
say
are
that's absurd.
wizards.
Wizards don't exist.
No, I get that, but you're not looking at the story for the sake of the story. You're actually just saying, I don't want to read the story. Well, then just don't read the damn story.
No, I read it, but it's mean. I don't
No,
like the mean God
it's
of the Old
mean. Yeah,
Testament.
I don't like it. It's mean. I'd get to decide
Yeah.
who's mean. Based on what? Based
So
on
what
what do
is
you get to
evil?
do? Based on your God that doesn't talk to you and that you just think
Well, he talks to
exists
me
and
through
doesn't give you
reason.
any rules. He talks to you through reason. How do you
Yes,
know that? Is that your feelings?
because I'm a reasonable person.
Okay,
How
so you're a
critical of this.
reasonable, rational person, so that's how God talks to you. So
Yeah,
whatever
he
Mike
talks to
thinks is
everybody
reasonable
through
and
reason.
rational,
He
whatever
talks.
Mike th-
He,
whatever Mike thinks is reasonable and rational is what God is telling you. Is that
if
what you
I'm a
think?
reasonable person in a
Okay, how
rational,
do you know you're a reasonable person? You might be irrational.
well, talk to my friends, ask them if I'm reasonable.
Okay, so now you're relying on other people. So other people's
No,
opinions are actually your God. Mike, other people's opinions are your God. If I don't know if I'm reasonable or
no,
not, I'll ask my buddy. And if my buddy says, hey, Mike, you're a reasonable guy, then I'm a reasonable guy, which makes the person that I'm talking to actually my God.
no,
Yes,
absolutely
yes,
not.
yes,
I,
yes,
I,
yes, yes.
I commu I think reason exists and
That's
I
fine.
follow
You believe
reason
that?
and
Yeah, that's
compassion.
fine. Yeah.
God talks to me by reason and
You
compassion as he
follow
talks. Can
whatever
I
you
say
think.
something, please?
Yes, you
You
just
never
did.
let me finish anything.
You follow what you believe is reasonable and compassion. You're
Yeah,
not
but
adding the
I'm
qualifier.
very
Yeah,
anybody who follows reason and compassion, I think, is following what God wants.
that's fine. You
Anybody
can
who
think that.
follows a God who says kill all these people is following a non-existent false God,
Okay.
right?
No, I disagree with you, but okay.
So you believe in what's it called? Uh, command morality. There's a name for that.
The divine command theory.
Yeah, divine command theory. You
Yeah,
believe in
because
that?
you know a lot more than I do. Yeah.
Well, I know what you don't know. That has
Oh,
caused
okay.
all kinds of harm and deaths.
Oh, okay.
And so you don't mind slaughtering Canaanite people
No, I don't. In the context of the
because God
Bible,
told you
no.
to.
Again, the story states that God told them to do it. They are
Well, the
in a
story's
covenant
wrong. It's a
relationship.
lie.
Mike, that's the problem. You are acting as though the story is just a lie. That's
Well,
fine. Think
how
that.
do I determine
But
which
you
God?
thus again, it's like Harry Potter isn't a wizard, so there's no point to read the book. That's what your
No, there's a
conclusions
big
are.
point
There's no
to.
value to the text because you just don't believe its premise.
No, I'm not saying there's no value to various things. I'm just saying I can't believe this book, Harry Potter book. I've never read one, but I have a rough idea. This isn't true. That's what I'm saying.
That's
Same
fine.
thing.
It's not meant to be. It's not even claiming that it is. But
Oh, but
that's
the
not the
Bible
point.
does claim it's
That's
true.
not the point, Mike. That's
That
not the
is
point.
exactly the point.
No, it's not. You're
Yes, it
missing the
is.
point. You're
Yes,
missing
it
the
is.
point. The
Yes, it
Bible
is.
isn't true. The Bible is an anthology of multiple kinds of genres of literature. We don't
So
even
what?
know if those stories are real because they take place in Genesis and take place in a historical context that we have no idea whether those things actually happened or not.
So we don't know if the Red Sea parted.
No,
Okay, I'll go along with that. I'll say it didn't.
of course you will,
Um,
because you don't believe that in a God that actually interacts with anybody, except for
right.
you
The
through
God
your
I believe in
feelings.
is a
Yeah,
non-intervening
interacts with
God.
you through your feelings. Yeah, it's a God you've created in your own head.
You're
Yeah.
dismissing my viewpoint as just my feelings.
No, no, I'm no, I'm not dismissing it. I'm identifying it correctly as just your
I don't
feelings.
live by my feelings. I live by my
Yes,
heart.
yeah, that's your feelings. Don't live
Yeah,
by my feelings. I live by
compassion.
the
I live by
source of my feeling.
compassion and
Yeah,
reason.
I don't live
And
by my feelings. I live by feelings. That's what you've just said to me. Is I don't live by
feeling of
feelings. I
I
live
live
by
by I believe by
another
compassion,
synonym for feelings.
compassion and reason. That's what I live by.
Feelings. Yeah, those are feelings. Those are just what you think. Your own internal thoughts. It's you're talking to
Well,
yourself.
somebody else could say that, and his name could be Adolf Hitler, and he would be wrong, right?
Okay. According to what worldview? If he has the same worldview as you, that his God is telling him to act the way he did, who are you to say he didn't?
Talk to my friends, ask them if I'm reasonable.
Okay, so now you're relying on other people. So other people's
No,
opinions are actually your God.
Well, my God doesn't say things like that. He doesn't
Okay, and
say
your
kill
God is
all these
different than
people.
Adolf Hitler's God. Adolf Hitler's God told him to do terrible things according to your God's
Your
perspective.
God told
So he has his
the
God, he
Hebrews.
has his God, and you have your God. Your God tells you to do what you think is compassionate, and
Yeah,
Adolf Hitler's God told him to save his German people by safeguarding them against what he thought was a threat from another people. And
right.
you're
Okay.
just saying he's not justified because of your feelings. Your feelings trump his feelings. That's all
Yeah,
you're arguing.
my feelings are very objective. My feelings are very objective. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you
Okay, wait. Just so we have it. Say that again. Your feelings are
my
very
feelings
objective.
are very objective. My feelings are very objective
Okay, your
when
feelings
it
are
comes
very
to
objective.
morality.
That's great.
I
There's
think
there's no
slavery
such
is
thing as an
immoral.
objective morality.
What?
There's no such thing as an objective morality.
I
Morality for
think there is.
you
It's
is
just
just
we
whatever
can't
you think.
determine it for sure. But
That
we
that
know
literally
this.
that's like Mike, that's insane. There's an objective morality, we just can't determine it. It's either a thing we can determine or it's not. If it's a
No,
thing
no,
we can
no. This thing
determine,
we
it's
can
objective.
generally be. Well,
Mike,
there's all kind. Well,
like
when you're talking about.
objective. This is a Coke can. If you don't believe me, I can mail it to you. And then you can see for yourself, this is a can. That's
Yeah, but
objective.
morality can be
I
tricky.
feel a certain way about things is not objective. That's just how you think. It's what you believe.
No, you don't get me at all. And now,
No, I get you. I'm understanding it. I get it. You're totally a person who is emotive and you're driven by your feelings and your thoughts. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. If
well,
you want to be that
I'm a
way, that's
much
perfectly
better
fine.
entity than your God.
If you want to be that way, that's perfectly fine.
Entity than your God. Because
Okay,
your
what does
God
that mean?
approves of slavery. Do you approve of slavery?
My God approves of slavery? Since
Yes.
when? When did
Since
he do
when?
that?
Since Leviticus.
So my God approves of slavery? No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Do you have a Bible on you?
Yes.
Look up Leviticus
I've read
25,
Leviticus.
44 to 46.
What I'm sorry, Mike, tell me what my opinion is about Leviticus.
Tell what your I don't know
Tell
what
me
your
what my
opinion. You
right, that's
ignore it
right. So why are you making a statement based on ignorance of what I think about Leviticus?
because you're a Christian, right?
A few moments later.
You don't believe that Latter-day Saints are Christians.
I know they're not.
That's what you call yourselves and you see
Right.
yourselves as, but the mainstream Christianity would say your concept of Jesus is different than the true concept of Christian Jesus or real Jesus.
Not in the
So
sense
you
that you
believe
think
what's
I
in the
am, no.
Bible.
I don't know if you've ever talked to Latter-day Saints or Protestants or Catholics. How many
Okay,
Catholics
all
or
right.
Protestants?
Can I just
Wait.
correct you?
You
Can I
you
please
don't
correct
believe
you?
you
Can
don't
I?
wait. You don't
Geez,
believe that Latter-day Saints are Christians.
I know they're not. Well,
Right,
they're not
right. So we're
regular
not
Christians.
Christians. So don't
You
pretend like you think we're Christians because you don't believe we are.
well, you consider yourself Christians,
Well, no, I
a
don't.
special kind of Christian.
If the people that I meet every day that tell me they're Christians are actually Christians, I'm okay not being one of those. Perfectly fine with it. I don't believe in a
So
triune God. I don't believe in
no,
in an
stop.
infallible. I don't believe in an infallible, inerrant Bible. I don't believe in a
Can
hell
the
where people
Bible
go for
be errant
eternity.
in
I
morality?
don't believe that God created us for no purpose out of
So you say
nothing.
you're not preaching, but you are.
No, I'm not preaching. I'm identifying facts. Preaching would be, and Jesus came and he told you to save yourself. That's preaching. I'm not
Well,
really prone to that.
well, I hope you realize you've talked about 6 times more than I have.
Uh-huh.
Every time I
That's
try
because
to
that
say
was the
something, you
function.
talk
That's what I
over
was
me.
invited here to do.
What?
That's what I was invited here to do. And you're
To
not here
talk with
exactly.
me.
You're not here to investigate the LDS church. I already know that.
Well, okay. I'm here to tell you what I
You've been
think is wrong.
you've been talking to
Just
people
again,
about
you
the
started
no, I'm
talking
just
again.
saying you've been talking to people about the LDS church for over 30 years. So I
Yeah.
don't think if you were here to in good faith to talk to the missionaries and actually investigate the church, I don't think you're here to do that.
Say that again.
So you're not here to actually investigate the church.
Well, I've already, years ago, I investigated this
Right, I know
thoroughly.
you did. You've published a whole bunch of YouTube videos about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not
You didn't
here.
answer the
You're
question
not.
about your God approving slavery. You
My God
dodged it.
doesn't approve of slavery.
Yes, he
Human
does. In
beings practice
Leviticus
slavery.
25.
Human beings. I don't believe God wrote Leviticus, Mike.
Oh, so then you're kind of a liberal Christian. You
No.
don't take the,
I'm
well, so
kind. No,
then
what
how
I
do you know
am,
what?
what I am, Mike, is I'm a Christian. If you want to call me that, which you don't believe I am one anyway.
No,
But
I'm
I'm a
not think you're a
guy.
Christian.
I'm a guy who believes that human beings write the documents that we call the Bible. That's what I am. Because I'm a person who believes in reality. I don't think that God wrote the Bible. Do you?
No.
I don't either. So
I don't know
I
what
think
your
that
answer was to the slavery thing.
human
So
beings believed that they could justify their behaviors by claiming that God approved of them and by
so
enacting rules and legislation in order to justify their behaviors. That's what I
exactly.
think it is. Yeah,
But
that's
that's
right.
not the Christian stance.
I don't care what the Christian stance is. We've already established I'm not
Right?
a Christian. You don't believe that Latter-day Saints are Christians.
I know they're not. You're not a Christian.
No, because I don't believe in the triune God. I don't believe in the
Okay, I heard that.
infallibility of the Bible. I don't believe God wrote the Bible. And those are the things that you have to believe to be a Christian.
Did God write the Book of
Wait,
Mormon?
no, he didn't write the Book of Mormon. No.
I mean, God did. Well, who wrote the Book of Mormon?
Well,
Inspired man.
in my belief, the various, well, actually, Mormon wrote the Book of Mormon. That's why it's called the Book of Mormon. But what he did is he compiled it from a collection of ancient historical records into an abridged text that was
Yeah,
transmitted through Joseph Smith. But Joseph Smith didn't write it either.
he's
God didn't
translated it.
write it. God didn't write it.
Okay,
A bunch
okay.
of
Can I make
ancient
a point?
prophets write it, if you're claiming
Is
that.
it possible for me to make a point?
Or Joseph Smith dictated it out of his head.
He dictated out of his head?
Or that's the other option. The option is that
I
Joseph
think
Smith was
that's what
telling
he
the
did.
That's fine. You can believe that. You can believe that a
But can you believe
25-year-old
that and
kid.
still call you? Can
No,
you
I
believe
don't.
that?
No, because I know more about Joseph Smith than you do.
Do you think he was a prophet, inspired, and a good guy?
Yes, I think I do. I think all of those things. Yeah.
You didn't think he was a con man who just made all this stuff up?
No, because there's no evidence that he was a con man who made all this stuff up. That would require evidence.
That would require what?
It would require evidence to support the claim he was a
Well,
con
the
man who
evidence, he
made it
wrote a
all
book that
up.
wasn't true.
Okay, prove the Book of Mormon isn't true.
Okay, it talks about great roadways and cities
Which
and
we found.
horses and
Which we
elephants in this
found.
country
Which
at
we
that
found.
time, and there
Which we
weren't any.
found.
So
Which
you're
we
not even
found.
listening to me. You're
Mike,
not
that's
even
because
listening to me.
Mike, I think that look, your understanding of Latter-day Saints and what we believe and think is wrong.
Oh, so
And it's
everything I've read
also
is wrong.
Mike, and also the claims you're making are really outdated because they're from 30 years ago. You need to update your arguments.
Is the Book of Mormon truthful? Did all
Yes.
that stuff happen?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Well, Smith said there were elephants and horses here, and there weren't.
No, he didn't.
It's in the book.
Go back and reread the text.
I'll read it to you. Hold on. Hold on. In Ether 9, 18 to 19, all of which were useful unto men, and more especially the elephants. There weren't elephants in this continent.
Probably not, but there was probably something that they called an elephant.
You are so dishonest. Oh my
No, I'm
goodness.
not, Mike. It's called load shifting. Have you ever heard of load shifting?
What shifting?
Have you ever called
Load
a
shifting?
load shifting? Have you ever called or heard of load shifting?
Load
It's a
shifting,
historical
no.
term. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying. So you can call me dishonest, but you don't even know what the concept is.
What is load fish?
What
Load,
is hippopotamus? What does hippopotamus mean?
river horse?
Yes. Why would they call that animal a horse? Is
I
that a
don't know.
horse? Is it a horse?
No,
Who called it a horse?
I don't know.
The Romans did. Why would they call it a horse?
It was a big animal.
Because they saw an animal that they didn't know what it was, and to them it kind of resembled a horse, and they live in rivers, so they called it a river horse.
So he was mistaken about them being actual
No. What I'm saying is that the Nephites, the people who are writing that record, would have had an understanding of an animal from the ancient world, and then they would have load shifted the word, and they would have called the animal that they saw, that they think approximated that, the same word. Did you know that when the conquistadors came to the Americas, the natives here, what did they call their horses? Deer. They called them deer because they thought they were deer. Well, are they deer? No, they're horses.
So there's no divine inspiration here.
There's no divine inspiration in human beings naming things. No, probably not.
I mean, So let me get this straight. Your argument, if I say
my argument is that people.
Let me finish my sentence. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know, because my argument, I'm going to clarify my argument before you misstate it again. My argument is that people.
I'm trying to figure it out.
People, when they see something that they haven't seen before, have the ability to name it and identify it with whatever word they want. And the word they select, God doesn't care. They can call it whatever they want.
All right,
that's why the Romans called a hippopotamus because they called it a river horse.
Well, they weren't claiming to be guided or divinely guided in any way.
Neither are the Nephites when they name an animal. They're not claiming divine revelation on what to call things. You think that everything in the Bible is divinely inspired?
Well, that's what Protestants claim.
Well, I know Protestants are idiots, so that's why they think that.
Well, most Mormons
that's just
that.
No, they don't. That's just flat stupid because
well, they couldn't.
If you believe, is it divinely inspired? Is it divinely inspired from God to say something like Nebuchadnezzar overthrew Jerusalem? Is that divinely inspired, or is that just stating what happened?
Stating what happened?
Yeah, there's no inspiration. And if the guy uses a word that's different from the word you think they should use, so what?
Taking a while to process what you're saying.
I know. It's going to take a while for you to process probably a lot of that stuff.
All right, so let me get back to the elephant. So if Smith said there were elephants here, you're saying whoever saw them called them elephants, but they weren't necessarily elephants.
Maybe not. And remember, we said in the context of ether, you're talking 3,500 years ago. And here's the other question: where are there not elephants? Where?
In North America at that time.
Where there? How do you know it was in North? How do you know it was in North America?
Because that's where all this stuff took place.
No, it doesn't. Where does it say that? Where does it say that, Mike? Where in the Book of Mormon does it identify where it took place?
At the end of the battle, the big battle on the hill Cumorah.
Where is that? No, it wasn't.
New York.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, there was a second hill Cumorah.
No. Joseph Smith and early Latter-day Saints called the hill Cumorah, but it's not Cumorah. It can't be Cumorah. They just called it that. In fact, if you actually read the Book of Mormon and pay attention to its context, it can't be the hill Cumorah.
Man, you know the term motivated reasoning, right? You reason everything from what you already believe.
No, I don't reason things from what I believe. I was actually just going to say the same thing about you.
Well, I went into this.
It's why you're so blatantly wrong about so many things about LDS theology. It's why you misrepresent it on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, but
like, for example, you said Latter-day Saints believe Jesus is not God.
The Mormon Jesus is the Son of God, but he is not God himself. He is not God with a capital G. He didn't create the world. He is himself a created and saved being. So the Mormon Jesus represents God, but is not God himself.
Do you believe that we
Sure.
think that?
That's what I've read. That's what
Okay,
they told me.
where on earth have you read that Latter-day Saints think that Jesus is not God?
I can't remember the sources I used like 20 years
So
ago.
you've never read the Book of Mormon then?
Yes, I have, cover to cover.
Okay,
And let me make this point.
okay. So in the
See, I
beginning of
knew
the
I couldn't make
text,
this point. I
in
knew
the
it. I
beginning,
knew it.
in the
I knew I
beginning of the
couldn't make
text,
this
wait,
point. You
in
wouldn't
the
let me make
beginning
a
of the
point.
text,
I
yeah,
have
in
a
the
point to
beginning of
make,
the
but you're
text,
trying to talk over
in
me.
the beginning, I was making the point. I'm asking you a question and I'm making a point. You're interrupting me. I don't think you
No, I
realize
was
you're
talking.
interrupting me. I
You
know I
interrupted.
was talking. I was saying, I asked you a question. Do you think that Latter-day Saints think Jesus is not God? And you said, yeah, that's what I thought. And I said, so you've never read the Book of Mormon? You said, yes,
Yes,
I
I
have.
have.
And then I'm responding to that because you haven't. Because if you had read the Book of Mormon, it specifically states that the purpose of the text is to prove to Jew and Gentile that Jesus is the Christ, the eternal God. The
But not.
God of the Book of Mormon is Jesus. From the beginning to the end, it's Jesus. So he has to be God because he's the God in the Book of Mormon. So Latter-day Saints who can read and who read carefully more than you have understand that Jesus is God. We also have read John 1 that identifies Jesus as the Word who was with God. We've also read the rest of the New
Well, that's
Testament
just your
that
opinion. That's
identifies
just yours.
Jesus in Hebrews 5 and Philippians 2 as being super exalted, and in Revelation as sitting at the right hand of power and being super exalted and being an heir of his Father. So, yes, he's God.
All right, he's gone.
And in Ether, have you read
So he
Ether
shouldn't be
3?
teaching wrong things.
Have you read Ether 3?
Yes, I've read the whole book.
Yeah,
And
in
listen, can I
Ether
make my?
3,
I can't make my point.
3, no, you
I
can't.
can't.
In Ether 3, because I haven't finished making mine. In Ether 3, the brother of Jared sees God and he identifies himself as Jesus Christ. So how could we not believe Jesus is God? And yet you're on. So what you need to do is go to your YouTube video and redact that out because you're lying or you're just ignorant. So
I
are
think
you
you're
lying
lying.
or are you ignorant? Are you lying or ignorant?
I don't interpret things in such a skewed way as you do.
You don't interpret things correctly.
I tend to.
Jesus
I'm
is
very
the
careful
God,
about that.
literally from beginning to end in the Book of Mormon. Jesus is God. He's identified
Okay,
as
can
God over
I make
and
a point
over and
then?
over and over again.
All right, to me, that's not a big issue. That Jesus is God or
You
God's
also said that he
representative.
didn't create the earth. You think that Latter-day Saints don't think he created the earth?
I don't
That
know.
we've never read Colossians chapter 1, verse 15? We don't know what it says, that Jesus is the creator? We don't know that?
All right, so Jesus, all right, Jesus is God. Maybe I was wrong about
Do
that.
you think that we believe Jesus is a created being, like
You
Jehovah's
haven't let me
Witnesses
make
do?
my point since I tried to make it
I'm
10 minutes
asking you
ago.
questions to clarify your misunderstandings and misrepresentings of our positions. Again, I don't think you're here in good faith anyway. So we're just talking for the purposes of wasting time.
I'm not wasting time. I'm trying to see what your arguments are.
You've already you've already decided what they are. You're not here to
The
learn
proof is
anything.
in.
You again, right, exactly. That proves the point I just made. The proof is in. I'm not here to learn anything from you. I'm here to just tell
Well,
you that your religion is wrong and to tell you that you're in some kind of bad church and you're worshiping a bad God who's evil according to my subjective feelings.
I've been trying to make a point for the last 10 minutes. Can I make the
What's your point? Go ahead, Mike.
My
Make your
point is, when I read the Book of Mormon, I found it very uninteresting, very boring.
That's because you sound really not very smart.
Well, I have a, that's not true. I have a pretty
Hey,
decent IQ. What's your IQ?
I don't know why that would matter,
You
Mike.
don't, because you just called me not smart.
What would your IQ have to do with the fact that you can read? Because apparently you can't, because you said Jesus, Latter-day Saints believe that Jesus is not God,
Because it's
that he
all so
did not create
fuzzy.
the earth,
It's very
and that he is
fuzzy.
a created being who also had to be saved by his God.
That's
All
what I
of
read.
which, all
That's
of
what I read.
which any moron who's read the Book of Mormon knows all of that stuff is false. And yet you got on YouTube and said those things.
No, I said those things 20 years before
No,
YouTube
you
came
didn't.
along.
You posted it on YouTube in 2020, and you're doing
Yes,
a
I know, but
voiceover that's current.
that's from about 20 years ago.
You're doing a
Then,
voiceover saying, I did this 20 years ago, 20
yeah, I
years
said that.
ago.
What?
You're doing a voiceover with a different voice that's obviously aged from the voice that you're having the interactions with. You're doing a voiceover saying this happened 20 years ago, and you're doing the voiceover 20 years ago, saying you did it 20 years ago.
No,
That's what you're doing?
20 years ago, the
I think
Mormon
you need to go
missionaries
back and
were-
re-listen to
I
your own
can't finish
video.
the sentence.
Well, you're not being honest about what actually happened.
You know, I deeply resent that. I don't think you have a
That's
clue
fine.
what honesty is.
No, I do. I know what honesty is. Honesty is saying I've read the Book of Mormon and then saying Latter-day Saints don't believe Jesus is God, when it's literally about every other page, it says the exact opposite of that. It's not honest to go and tell people,
represents God.
like for example, you believe that Jesus is a created being. Have you ever
No,
read
I
the
don't
Doctrine
believe
and
that. That's what I read.
Have you ever read the Doctrine and Covenants?
It's just after reading the Book of Mormon, I couldn't go
Yeah,
through
you
that
didn't
again.
bother. Yeah. So you say that Jesus is a created being. Did you know that Latter-day Saints don't believe anybody is a created being? Nobody is a
I'm still
created
not
being.
clear about elephants.
We have all already existed. We've always existed. We're not created in the way that Christians believe, that
We've
we're
always
created out of
existed?
nothing.
How do you
Yes,
know
we've
that?
always existed. Because I believe in revelation. Unlike you, I
Well,
don't think
no,
my
you don't
God,
believe in revelation.
I
You
don't
think
think my God, I don't think that my God that I think exists in my head talks to only me.
not only me, every reasonable person, every person who
Oh,
has
okay. And who
compassion.
identify, again,
Can
we
I
identify
finish it?
who is reasonable. Mike, who is reasonable?
I'm reasonable. I know some friends of mine that are quite reasonable.
Okay, and they're the ones that are the gauge by which you measure whether you're reasonable.
My friends think slaughtering another tribe or group down to their animals is insane and barbaric. You don't.
I don't think so in a historical 3,000-year-old context. No, it's probably not.
The context doesn't change. This is what God
Yes, it
told them to
does.
do.
It does. It
Yes,
absolutely changes things.
No, God told them to do that.
You don't think that fighting other people for resources to preserve your own people is a justifiable action?
If they're a threat, but they weren't all threats. They just went ahead and
Yeah, they were a threat.
No,
They
they
were a
weren't.
threat.
Some
Again,
were, some were not.
Again, it's you deciding what they thought 3,500 years ago.
No,
Who
it
are
isn't.
you to get to decide that? You don't get to
I'm a
decide
reasonable
what's
person.
appropriate 4,000 years ago.
Killing animals for no reason is inappropriate.
That's what you think. That's
Yes,
what you think.
that's
Yes,
what I
that's what
think.
you think. Because you don't believe God actually interacts with anybody other than just you through your
No, not
reason and
just
your
me.
common
Any
sense.
reasonable person or
No,
any.
Mike, again, based on your 21st century sensibilities from your little I live in the
If I was a
developed world.
caveman,
I live in
can
the
I please
developed
talk over
world.
you for
No, yeah.
once? Let me
Yeah,
talk
I
over
live in
you
the
for once.
developed
No,
world
you're
in the
gonna talk
comfort
over
of the
me.
internet age, and I get to judge ancient people from 4,000 years ago. Good job, Mike. That's really reasonable to do that, to impose your ethics and morality 4,000 years ago. Good job.
That's it. Human beings are human beings. Murdering people is wrong, isn't it?
They're not.
Isn't
They're
it?
not.
Isn't
That's
murder?
not true.
They're not murdering. They're just following
No,
God's
that's
law.
not. It's not true that human beings are human beings and they've just had the same sensibilities and perspectives
They
for
were
all
more
of time.
barbaric back then.
It's not true. Yes, that's correct. Good job. You finally
But they're
said
still
something that's
human
correct.
beings. And there were people back then, and there were caveman days where there were some people who were reasonable and compassionate and wouldn't be killing neighbors. And there were people back then, and there were caveman days where there were some people who were reasonable and compassionate and wouldn't be killing neighbors.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think that they were reasonable and compassionate? You think that if
Some
somebody
of them,
had something that they wanted, they wouldn't just bash them in the head with a rock and take it?
Right, because they would be smart enough to know that's not the way to live. It doesn't work right.
Is that what you think?
Yes, that's what I think.
Yeah, there's
I'm not as
cannibals.
negative as
Have you ever
you
heard
are.
of cannibalism?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, have you ever read the book that's called The Better Angels of Our Nature? It's a
You mean,
big book, so
what's his
probably
name?
not. So
Steven Pinker?
there's a book called The Better Angels of Our Nature, and it
Pinker.
talks about this. Yeah. Yeah. Did you did you pay attention to the book when you read it?
I didn't read it. I just know about it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
So what's his point? That we were more barbaric back then? Sure. But his point was not they were no good people.
no, his point is that human beings were far more violent and barbaric thousands of years ago. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
And
if
you're
God
just
tells-
saying
if God-
you're just saying that you get to decide what's ethical and reasonable based on you, and you get to impose your modern little sensibilities in your little developed world with your red polo shirt.
Yeah, because I
sitting
know
in your
more
air
than the
conditioned
barbarians
sitting in
do.
your sitting in your air conditioned home. You get to judge people who lived 4,000 years ago and
Yeah, 'cause
what's
I'm
appropriate for them to survive. You get to decide. A guy
You
who
know,
probably
killing
could
animals
you probably
unnecessarily.
wouldn't last 5 minutes
I'd probably be the leader
in a
of the group.
forest. If you were in the forest, you wouldn't last 5 minutes. You'd be eaten.
What do you think? How do
You
we get
wouldn't
to animals
survive.
then?
You wouldn't survive.
What was your answer to the question of why it's
You'd
okay to kill
probably be,
animals?
look, if you were in their time period,
Make it a
at
question.
your age and in your physical condition, you'd be the first person that they'd off because you
No, they
hold
won't.
everybody
They probably
back.
say, now this guy has a much more reasonable attitude. Instead of fighting with
No,
everybody,
they
let's
probably
work
see you as
together.
weak. They probably
What?
perceive you as very weak. They'd probably say this guy is a liability because he's too sensitive and he wants to help everybody. And that's not good for our tribe because we need to survive and we need to compete for resources in the desert. And we can't allow other people who are not our tribe to compete with us. So we have
But
to off them.
There's a tribe that the Hebrews attacked just because they wanted their land, not
Right.
because they were a threat.
They wanted their resources. Yeah, that's right.
That's
Good
right.
job. You
So
finally
they're
said something.
barbarians.
You said
Your God is
you
a
said another
barbarian
thing.
because he wants them
You
to
said
do it.
another thing that's correct, Mike. Good job. That's two in the whole
So
discussion.
your
We've been
God
talking.
approves of killing people.
Yes, don't you?
No, not unless
Okay.
there's damn good reason.
Right. So you do approve of killing people when there's a damn good reason.
Kill the Nazis.
Okay, yeah, you get to choose. You get
Okay,
to
hold on.
decide
Can
who
I-
the bad
Can I
people
finish my
are.
point?
Yeah, again, Mike, that's because your point fails. Every point you've made
Yeah.
fails because you haven't
Whatever.
thought it through. Yeah, it's wrong to kill people. Well, except for when it isn't.
Right.
When is it okay?
There's certain
When is it, wait,
circumstances.
when is the bright
Can
line
I-
decision to when you can kill somebody and when you can't?
When they're causing great harm,
Who decides that?
normal people.
Who are these normal people that get to decide when somebody's causing great harm and when
How
they're
about
not?
you? You against
Who gets to
Hitler?
decide that? Who gets to decide?
Do you get to decide about Hitler?
Who gets to
Certainly you
decide,
do.
Mike? Who?
You.
Oh, so my decision. Okay.
Yeah.
So
If
here's what the
if you're
thing is,
living
Mike.
back then and you were
It's
in a,
my decision. If it's my
make a
decision,
point.
I get to decide for you. Okay?
Yes.
I think
If you're a
think
reasonable person.
you're unreasonable. I don't think you're a reasonable person.
I don't think
I
you
get to
should be
decide for
murdering
you,
the
right?
neighboring tribes.
I get to decide for you. I think you're immoral and you're not reasonable. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, I think you're wrong.
Right, right. And so we can just go back and forth like this. And who decides? Who breaks the tie?
Well, then we look at evidence, and every time I point
What
out
evidence?
you got
Evidence
some
of
smart
what?
aleck answer to it.
What evidence of what?
That the Book of Mormon is not true. And then you
Based
say,
on
oh, of
what?
course not. Nobody believes
Based
that.
on what evidence?
On the fact that there are no horses here, there are no wheat.
There
there's
are.
no
We've
silk.
actually found. They actually just found. They just discovered horse bones like
That
a
was
year ago.
way long ago.
Yeah, like a year ago. Yeah.
No,
they
they
just found.
found it. They found it a year ago, but the bones were from way long ago.
Yeah, they were from about the same period of time as the Book of Mormon.
I don't
Yeah,
think so.
they were pre-Columbian horse bones. Yeah. And no, you're talking
Both
about a different
sides.
find. I'm talking about a find that shows that the horses didn't go extinct 10,000 years ago, but there were actually pre-Columbian horses during the time of the Book of Mormon.
That one thing is evidence of that.
Because here's the thing, Mike. as there's a list of all the things that you're going to argue that's from 40 years ago, because that's when you developed these
But
arguments.
they still count.
That list of things, let's say it's 50 things that you think are problematic
8.
about the Book of Mormon. They've gone down and they've whittled that list down to where there's only like 15 left. Because all
Well,
the
that's
other
what Christians do.
35
You
of
make
them,
rationalization.
they've discovered. People laughed at Joseph Smith when he said, hey, ancient people wrote on metal plates, specifically
Yeah.
on gold plates, and buried them in stone boxes until they found the Nebuchadnezzar texts. And they found this whole collection of gold plates with rings on them buried in a stone box with religious writing on them that date to 600 BC. Now it
Where was
doesn't look
this?
so ridiculous.
When did this happen? They found
In
me-
1928, I think, is when they found them.
I don't know.
And then they've since found over a dozen other examples, including the Great Isaiah Scroll, which is written on copper. It's so depressing to find out that you've been wrong for so many
I'm
years
not
about so
wrong.
many simple facts.
I'm not wrong.
You
I've
are.
seen
You
people
actually
like
are.
you.
Yeah, there's
You-
vast tomes of scholarship on these issues that
Yeah,
you
all by
raise
Mormons.
ignorantly. No, they're not by all by Mormons.
Well, nobody agrees with you.
See, that's the thing.
You
See how
represent one-
unreasonable. Look, Mr. Reasonable. You see how unreasonable it is because
No.
you think unless somebody agrees with you, they're unreasonable.
It's not just me. I talked to the.
It's not just me. I poll other friends of mine, and they help
No,
me to understand
may
that
I
I'm
please,
reasonable.
may I please finish my sentence? You always
No.
interrupt.
Yeah, I know.
I talked to Betty Meggers. She's
Who?
an author and expert on North America.
Who?
You don't know her? She
No.
well, she died. She's died now. She's older.
Okay.
But she
So
worked
when
for
did you
the
talk to her? When did you talk
what?
to her, Mike? When did you talk to her?
1995,
Yeah.
205.
I was going to say probably 30 years ago. Yeah, I was going to say most of
She's
your
an
arguments.
anthropologist.
Most of your
and she said
arguments
that-
are really outdated. Yeah, I was watching some of your YouTube videos and your arguments are really outdated. They're from 30 years ago. And unfortunately, what's happened is you haven't kept up with the scholarship that's developed over the last 30 or 40 years, probably because you don't want to, but that's okay.
There's no.
If I was
there's no point for me
ignorant,
because
if I was ignorant and I already decided what I wanted to believe, I wouldn't read anything else either.
Well, I reread some stuff recently, knowing I
Oh,
was going to
good.
talk with
I'm
them.
glad you still read. That's good. Good job.
Do you kill witches?
Do I kill witches?
Yeah.
No, I
The
don't
Bible
kill
says
witches.
you're supposed to kill witches.
Oh, okay. I'm going to talk about Old Testament laws about killing witches and stuff.
Right.
Because I don't understand that Latter-day Saints believe in modern revelation and contextualize
I'm asking you.
in a modern context because I'm ignorant of Latter-day Saint beliefs. I
I'm-
think
can
that Latter-day Saints are Protestants because I'm ignorant. Is that what you're saying, Mike? Because that's what I heard with what you
I
just said.
think Latter-day Saints believe in the Bible. And one of the moral.
No, I think that you don't understand.
Finish the
No,
sentence?
Mike, you can't. When you say things like, I think that Latter-day Saints believe in the Bible, what
Right.
does that mean?
It means they believe in the Bible. That's
What does
it
that
means.
mean? What does it
Don't
mean?
tell me, don't ask me that. That's a
Mike,
tricky
you don't
word.
know. What does it mean to say that a Latter-day Saint believes in the Bible? What does it mean?
Now, what Jesus says in the Bible, what is written in the Bible is true. That's what it
No,
means.
that's not what it means.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Well, then
Because
what is it?
I get to tell you what my faith tradition believes, and you have been repeatedly wrong about it. As we've just demonstrated with your perspectives on God, for example.
You never finished the question about slavery? You never finished the question
Yes,
about.
I did. I did.
What was your answer? I can't remember it. It didn't make any sense.
I know, and that was the other concern I had, is that maybe you have a failing memory. It happens. We get older. It's just something that happens.
You just avoided the
You
question.
can't help it. You can't help it. I know. No, I answered the question.
I didn't get it.
I'm sorry. I can't help you. I can just say it. I can't understand it for you.
In Leviticus, God says you can have slaves.
Yeah, in
Isn't that
Leviticus,
immoral?
you could have slaves 3,000 years ago. Yeah.
Well, that's immoral. So what does
Why?
God, what does
According to
God
who?
do? Can I
Do you
finish
think
the
that
sentence, please?
do you think the slaves that were being cared for by their masters thought it was immoral when they had a place to live and to eat? Have you read
Yeah, yeah. They
anything
didn't want to be
about
there
that?
necessarily.
How do you
They
know
thought it was
that?
immoral if they got beaten.
Look, the idea that people held slaves was a universal truism that everybody
What are you talking? You're
understood.
talking to me like I'm an idiot.
Ding, ding, ding. What do we have for her, Johnny?
You're the
I
idiot.
know, I
You're the
know.
idiot.
Yeah, I know you think
You know,
that, but
you're so
the evidence
involved in
doesn't
your.
support that conclusion at this point.
I
Because
still haven't got an answer for you.
you're the one that's still imposing your modern paradigm on ancient
Not
people,
necessarily
which
modern.
is ahistorical. Yes, you are. You are, you know when human beings decided slavery was wrong? What year did human beings decide, you know what,
No, I
slavery
mean
is wrong?
it's
When was that?
continuum.
When was that, Mike?
When I'd rather ask you
When did
when did the
most
Bible
cultures
decide slavery
decide?
is wrong?
When did most cultures decide that slavery was wrong?
Probably
The
around
Bible
eight.
stopped. The last text of the Bible was written 2,000 years ago. I'm asking you,
In
when did humans decide
around
that
1800
slave?
something.
Right, less 200 years ago, 400 years ago,
Con
everybody still
opposed.
thought that slavery was
Why
okay.
are you telling me this? I know that.
Do
I'm
you?
talking about God approving it, not
No,
about
I'm
it
talking about,
existing.
again, Mike, who wrote the Bible?
It was men inspired by God. You
Men
don't
wrote
believe
the
that?
Bible. Yeah, men wrote the Bible.
Inspired by God to say the right thing.
And you believe that what? What does that mean? You are imposing Catholic and Protestant stupidity on an ancient document. You are literally dogmatically viewing the Bible as
So it
anything
was okay.
other than
So it was.
historical documents.
Can I please finish a sentence?
No, you can't because you keep dogmatically doing that. You're the most inconsistent person I think I've talked to in a long time because you view it like, first of all, I'm not going to take the story at the face value of the story, which is in the story, there is a God who exists.
Yes.
That God has a
Yeah.
relationship with his people. They have a prophet who literally talks to that God who tells them what to do.
And
That's
he
the
told them to
story.
kill people.
Yeah, he
He
did.
told
He
them
told them to
slavery's
take their
okay.
land and wipe them out because he didn't want them to have a corrupting influences and he wanted to take their resources. That's exactly what he did. And guess what else he can do?
Yeah, but
That same God, that same God created the lives of all people and they belong to him. And if he chooses to take those lives in whatever way he chooses to do it,
no,
he gets that prerogative.
he's supposed to
Because
be a good God,
here's
a
the thing,
loving God.
Mike. Here's the
He's
thing. Yes,
supposed to,
and you
can
know
I
what a
finish
good
the
loving
sentence?
God would do?
He's,
You know what a good loving God would do?
what?
End it all quickly so he can return to wherever he is. So we don't have to keep living here. Because this
I don't know
sucks.
what you're talking about.
Do you think your life so okay, in your God, the God that talks to you in your heart and in your head
Yeah,
through reason and common sense, that God, what's his
yeah.
functional purpose for you?
Gives me a meaning in life, grounding in life,
How?
by making me see that if you treat people well, you get treated back well.
How
And
does that provide you purpose?
well, making people
That
happy.
improves quality. That's not purpose.
You keep talking over me. I never get to make my point.
That's because your points have been really dumb so far. That's okay. It's fine. I'll help you. So at this point in the stage, what is the functional purpose of your existence? Why did your God that you've created in your head create you or make you or whatever it did for you?
I
Why
don't
did it do
know.
it?
I don't know for
Right.
sure. I think
So
there's
how
some,
can it give you purpose if you don't know why it created you?
because he shows me in my experience that if I do things constructive and helpful, that it makes people happy, and that's a better feeling for everybody.
There's another word for that. It's just called karma, where whatever I do to other people, they do back to me. That's just the golden rule. It's been around for thousands of years. It even predates Jesus. And it's this idea of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's
You
how
don't
the
believe
world
that?
goes around. You don't need to believe in God to do that. I'm wondering why you believe in a God of any kind. What's the functional
Because
value of believing in this being?
we're talking about big general issues. I'm trying to get to specifics.
I know
Like
you want to get down into the little nitty gritty things so that you
little
can
nitty gritty
you can
things like
make
slavery. Little
because
nitty tiny
you
details.
actually stated at the beginning of the discussion that you were into the details. You didn't
That I
know them.
was.
So I'm trying to go back into macro because in the micro, you said I don't really know the little stuff. Don't worry, I'll clip it out and put it there so that when you
Well,
set it
I
here,
don't
it'll
understand
fit
what your
right
point
here.
is.
Because I don't think you know more than I do.
Oh, I
So
do.
I doubt it.
About truth, not about little details and stuff.
My point is you said I don't know the nitty gritty stuff. We tried to
No,
talk
but
about some of the nitty gritty stuff,
I
and you
said
seem
that.
to not understand it. So now we're talking about macro stuff.
Yeah, because you haven't.
I
You
figured it
haven't
might be
answered
better. It might be better. Maybe you'll know
I
more
can't
about the
finish
big
a
stuff.
sentence. Every time I start a sentence, go ahead, interrupt me. I'm waiting.
You can whine about stuff if you want. That's fine.
I don't understand what I'm trying to understand your perspective on slavery and what it says in the Bible.
I've already
To
told
me,
you.
it's very simple. God approves of slavery for the Hebrews. Therefore, he's an immoral God and doesn't exist. What's
Okay,
wrong with
except
that?
God didn't write the Bible.
God didn't write, so human beings wrote that.
Again, that's what I'm saying.
Well, once
You know,
again,
Mike, look, if we're just going to have the same conversation over and over again, it's just going to be frustrating for you. I don't really want to keep having the same conversation. Maybe you have some kind of memory problem. I don't know, but
but you
I don't
didn't
want to
answer
keep
it.
repeating myself.
You
I
said
did. I've
human
said it.
beings wrote it. All
I've
right,
said it 10
I'm trying to
times.
follow
I've said
what
it
you
10
said.
times. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know that you can follow what I'm saying.
I'm trying to see your point of view.
Ancient
That human
people
beings,
had different perspectives. Ancient people wrote the Bible. How hard is that to understand?
I understand that,
Okay, great. Now we can move on to something else. Now what?
but you haven't answered the question.
I did answer the question.
It's okay for your sacred scripture to have God saying slavery is okay.
What are you talking about, sacred scripture? What are you talking about?
So there is no such thing as sacred scripture?
Not
I'm
according to the way
mistaken
you
about
probably
that?
understand it. What does sacred scripture mean?
Stuff that comes from God eventually.
Again, see, that's the thing, Mike. Your dumb argument only works if you believe that God dictated the Bible. I don't believe that.
You don't believe he inspired the
No,
Bible?
I don't believe that. No, I don't.
Okay,
I've said it
and you're
10
saying
times
most
now.
Mormons don't either?
I don't know what most Mormons believe. You're talking to me. You're not talking to most Mormons.
Yeah, but you're supposed to know about Mormonism, so
I do
mean,
know about
I can't
Mormonism.
help it.
Yeah. Most Mormons don't believe God dictated the Bible. That's right.
But inspired it?
Inspired meaning what?
That his basic message is right, and his basic moral teachings are right?
Its moral teachings are sketchy because it's not a book.
So you get to decide. So you get to decide whatever
It's
you
why
want.
Latter-day Saints have the Book of Mormon as a supplementary text to the Bible, because it helps us to correct the errors that are found in the biblical texts that are a product of human innovation and justifications. We don't know to what degree the human beings adulterated the biblical texts from whatever the original documents were.
We do have a
I
pretty
don't
good
do,
idea.
who
We do have a pretty good idea.
who
Can't make
wrote
a
the
sense.
Bible? Who wrote the Bible?
Barbarian human beings from long ago.
Who?
People with different names than, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, whatever.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John didn't write the Gospels.
No? Well, somebody will.
No.
What am I supposed to get a very specific first name, last
No,
name?
I thought that you said you were an educated and informed person, and I assumed
Yeah.
that you've actually studied the biblical text from a critical perspective, since you're a theist who doesn't believe in a God other than the one
Right.
you've made up.
Well, what I
And you're
perceive.
going around making YouTube videos telling people that what's the truth, but I don't think you even know. Because you've
I
already
don't
stated,
know.
I don't even know
No, I
why the
don't
God that
know.
I believe in
But
made me.
I know what's not the truth. I know the Quran.
How do you know what's not the truth? Except for
Right? The
you through
God
your
I believe
feelings.
in is a
Yeah,
non-intervening
interacts with
God.
you through your feelings. Yeah.
My feelings are very objective.
If
Well,
you want to be that
I'm a
way, that's
much
perfectly
better
fine.
entity than your God. Because if it has if it has,
Because if it offends Mike's tender sensibilities, it's not
my
true.
tender sense, and I'm so tender, I'm so upset when somebody commits genocide. I'm such a wimp. I'm such a wimp. There's
Yeah,
nothing
you
wrong
are.
with committing genocide, right?
Yeah, right.
That for you, there's nothing wrong.
Right.
God
Yeah.
says so, then it's okay.
Yeah, when 4,000 years ago, people attacked other people to take their resources so they could preserve their own
I'm not talking about,
civilization.
I'm talking about your
Yeah, I
God.
know. I'm talking about human beings. Again, you are not understanding it. You're not getting it. You're trying to impose a, a, a an idea that I don't believe in on me. I don't believe in
You
that.
don't believe in do unto others?
No,
You
again,
don't believe to do
damn it,
unto
Mike.
others?
I've already told you this 50 damn times. I don't believe in what you're shoveling on me. I don't. Stop trying to impose your Protestant bull on me. Stop it. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in your Catholic bullshit or your Protestant bullshit. And I've watched some of your videos, and the majority of that you tell Latter-day Saints is crap that you've adopted as worldviews from your prior bullshit because it's all you know. And then you researched 40-year-old anti-Mormon arguments that you don't even understand, and you haven't kept up with them.
I don't
It's
understand.
really infantile. It's very infantile.
I don't
Grow
understand.
up. Grow up. Act your age. Read a book. Become more sophisticated. Pull your head out of your right?
Not right.
Yeah,
You're
right.
the villain, you're not me.
Stop pretending that your God is the one in your
Not God.
head that believes whatever Mike believes.
I am
Because
a reasonable person.
Mike's God is whatever Mike thinks. Isn't that convenient? That you've created your
That's not
own
an
God who
argument.
agrees with you.
I've heard this before. You're just,
You've heard
you
before
think
that
it's,
you
yeah,
believe.
you're right, and I'm wrong.
Mike, I've heard it before too. I just heard it again from you, except for
Right,
you
the
through
God
your
I believe
feelings.
in is a
Yeah,
non-intervening
interacts with
God.
you through your feelings. Yeah.
My feelings are very objective.
If
Well,
you want to be that
I'm a
way, that's
much
perfectly
better
fine.
entity than your God.
My name is Mike. I believe in the God who lives in my head and who works through my feelings and tells me in my head and my feelings that I'm a reasonable and sensible person with morals. And if I don't believe it, I go and I poll my friends who confirm that I'm right. That's your worldview. Okay, how do you ever improve if you live in this master type of a system where you just
In the
yourself into
system, I'm very
believing that you're
into,
happy and good? It must be
yeah,
nice to just believe you're a good person.
what?
It must be nice to just sit on your throne and think I'm a better person than other people because I've figured out that I'm moral and nobody else is.
I
Must
didn't
be
say
nice for
that.
you, Mike.
My feelings are very objective.
If
Well,
you want to be that
I'm a
way, that's
much
perfectly
better
fine.
entity than your God. I'm just saying
Yes,
I'm a
you
moral
have.
person, and people
Yes, you
who
have.
commit genocide.
Yeah. Yes, I'm a moral person, and anybody who disagrees with me is not moral. That's right.
No, I didn't say that.
That's right.
People who believe what you believe are
It is
immoral, I
what you've
think.
said. Right. Again, what Mike believes is moral, and if anybody disagrees with Mike, they're not moral.
I believe in doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Is killing an entire group following that?
Why would
golden
you
rule?
believe that doing unto others is, why would you think that? Who told you that
Because
that's some
it
kind of
produces more love and
truism?
happiness.
How do you know that?
Well, my life, you're a real
How do you know that?
intellectual.
Okay, let me give you an example. Let me give you a perfect example of how you're doing unto
All right.
others. Okay. My brother-in-law is a heroin addict, and he has been for 30 years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's perpetuated him being a drug addict is the fact that everybody who's his friend gives him food and shelter all the time.
Yeah.
But you know what helped him to snap out of it?
What?
They kicked him out and they cut him off, and he lived on the streets for 3 years.
Fine.
Is that what you would have done?
Yeah.
You'd have kicked him out and let him live on the streets
Yeah. If he kept
and
on doing
potentially
it.
face death? Is that
Yeah.
moral, Mike? To
Yes.
let somebody freeze to death?
Yes, because all you're doing is enabling him if you let him continue to stay with
Oh,
you.
okay. How do you know that?
Because I've seen my life. I've seen that's what happens. People take
Okay, so
advantage of
it's okay to take a young man who has a sickness and kick them out into
No,
the
I don't
cold
consider a
and let them
sickness a
face
drug. Can I
illness.
please finish a sentence?
You don't think addiction is a sickness? It's not a psychological
It's a
addiction?
sickness, but it's a choice also.
Oh, you think that addiction is a choice?
Yes.
You think he liked being sick,
No, but he didn't do
and
what he
he
had to
liked
do
being
not to be sick.
homeless, and he
What?
liked starving, and he liked losing weight. He
No, he
enjoyed
liked the
it.
drugs.
It was fun for him. He didn't have a substance addiction. You don't think that?
But he
You would take somebody who is in a mentally and chemically dependent situation and throw them out in the streets?
my feelings are very objective.
If you
Well,
want to be that
I'm
way,
a
that's
much
perfectly
better
fine.
entity than your God.
Mike,
No, I
why
had
would
him
you do that?
go to a facility. If he goes to a facility
No.
2, 3, 4 times,
What if the
or 7
facilities
times,
what if the
can't
facilities
finish
won't
the
take
sentence.
him?
Can't
What if
finish
the
the sentence.
facilities won't take him? They wouldn't take my brother-in-law. Now what?
Well, why wouldn't they take him? Because he kept on screwing up, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Because he was
you gotta
sick.
take the
Yeah.
consequences.
Yeah. And so, right, exactly. And if he dies on the streets, that's the consequences, right, Mike?
Right, right.
Yeah. So if you throw him out and he
Yeah.
dies on the streets, you're okay
Yeah.
with that. Your ethics are fine with that.
Yes, my feelings are very objective.
If
Well,
you want to be that
I'm a
way, that's
much
perfectly
better
fine.
entity than your God.
So
I'm
you
not
are
happy
okay if
about it,
people
but
die. Yeah,
that's the
you're
right
okay
thing
if
to
people
do.
die. Yeah, the
What?
right thing to do is to let sick people die on the street. Good job, Mike. You're real moral.
Sick
You're real
people
ethical. It's okay for you to let sick
he's a
people
drug
die on the
addict.
street, Mike. Mike, I get it. It's okay to let sick people who have addictions die on the street. I get it, Mike. That's the ethics that you have.
No,
I get it.
that's
It's
not
fine.
a
No, it's
fair
fine. I get it.
description of
No,
what
it's
I
fine.
just
It's
said.
fine. It is exactly what you just said. It's okay because
No, it
they
isn't.
deserve it. It's
No, it
okay
isn't.
because they deserve it. They
No, it
chose to
isn't.
they chose
No,
to
it
use
isn't.
drugs. They
No, it
chose to
isn't. I
use
can't get a
drugs.
word
They're
in.
addicted. They have substance abuse and they need to be kicked out on the streets. And if they die, then that's their fault because they shouldn't have been addicted, right? They shouldn't have been using drugs.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? We just came to an agreement. I love it when we can come to an agreement on things. So your ethics are is it's okay to take sick people and throw them on the street and let them die.
You're completely ignoring the premise of that, which is that he wouldn't do anything to help himself.
Sick people who
Because
are
if you- they
sick,
wouldn't-
yeah.
They
Sick
wouldn't
people
let
who
him
are sick,
into a facility
yeah. Sick,
because
yeah.
obviously he didn't do what he was
Yeah.
supposed to do to get
Yeah,
himself better.
I just hope you, I pray that you're too old to have a son that would happen to and that you would let him die on the streets.
Well, my son wouldn't do that.
Well, yeah, because he's like you. He's perfect.
He's reasonable. He's
Yeah, he's
reasonable.
reasonable and ethical and moral and stuff and all the
Yeah,
good things
right.
that Mike is. It must
Right.
be nice to be the god of your own world.
I'm not a god. I'm just a reasonable person.
I know,
like
that's
you.
right. You don't believe anybody can become like God.
So you're making personal attacks. You're not discussing the issues.
There isn't any issue. The issue is just talking to Mike for as long as I could tolerate.
All right, let me check my list here. If there's anything else I can, I don't know. It's sort of like you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in the Book of Mormon. So I don't know what are we
Well, I
talking
believe in the
about?
Bible and I believe in the Book of Mormon. I just don't believe in them the way that you want me to.
You believe in the Bible and the Book
I
of
don't
Mormon?
believe in them the way that's convenient for your dumb argument.
Could you stop insulting me, please?
No, but no, I'm not. Your argument is dumb. I haven't insulted you. Unless you are your argument. If you are your argument, then yes, I have insulted you. And I'm sorry that the argument is still dumb. Even if you associate the argument with like a fundamental
Wait a minute,
premise
let's
of
not
your
talk in
character.
general. I still don't get your perspective. If in
I
the
know.
Bible,
I don't
God-
think you ever
we're
will
saying-
because what you want is you want to keep
Can't make
talking
a point.
in the hopes, you want to keep talking in the hopes that eventually I will agree with one of your premises that's
Right.
required in order for you to make your larger argument, which is nonsense. And it's not going to happen. I'm going to maintain the same position that I started with because that's the position I hold to. I'm not going to change my position because you say it a different way. And because you ask me again in some pathetically naive way. It's not going to change
Not
anything.
naive.
I'm pretty naive.
I mean, I'm trying
Because
to understand your viewpoint.
these are the most
Can't get a word in.
simplistic arguments. Yeah, I know. You don't need to get a word in. What have you got to say?
All right, you tell me why you
Mike,
believe
what have
in
you got to
Mormonism.
say of any value?
All the things I've said that you've dodged.
Like what? Like what?
Like you're God supporting slavery and you're saying, oh, that was a long time ago.
Again,
Was
okay,
that
you've
your
made
answer?
that point. You've made that point 10 times. I've responded
And
to
you
it.
didn't
Move on to
answer.
something else. I
Well,
did.
tell me
Move on
your
to the
answer.
next one. I've
No,
moved
tell me
on.
your answer.
Moved on to the next one. Move on to the
Tell
next
me your
one.
answer.
I've already answered that one, Mike.
Well, all right, let me, then tell me if I understand it correctly.
You don't. It's okay though. Just move to the next point. Go to your list and pick the next thing on the list.
People wrote that, not God. Is that your answer?
Uh-huh. Right. And ancient
Right, so
people
I
have
got
different
it.
paradigms than we do. Got it. Good. Now move on to the
Good.
next one.
All right. When was the Book of Mormon written? Wasn't it written around 400 or something?
I've already answered this one too.
You did?
Yeah,
Gee, I must have trouble with my memory because
you do.
while I was listening.
Here, I'll even ask the elders.
What?
Yeah.
I already answered the question about when the Book of Mormon was written, didn't I?
Yes,
Well,
you did.
let me see if I
Yeah.
got it. It was,
Who wrote the Bible, Mike?
who wrote the Bible? Many people.
Yeah, who wrote the Bible?
Many people, but
Who?
it was written before 1611, right? Can you say yes?
It was
Can
written
you
before
agree with something?
it was written before the King James Bible was published.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Wasn't
was probably written before the King James Bible was published. Yes.
the Book of Mormon. Okay, so why does the Book of
What are you
Mormon
No,
have,
I asked you about again, Mike, again, if you can't follow a simple statement, or I ask you a question and I ask you when the Bible was, who wrote the Bible, and you
who
said,
wrote
I
it?
don't know, and you said, but it was probably written before 1611, which I don't even understand how that's responsive, but I guess it was written before the King James Bible was written. I can't even
Well,
follow some of the things you're saying because they're nonsensical. What does that have to do? What is 1611, the year that the King James Bible was published, have anything to do with the Book of Mormon?
because the Book of Mormon has Elizabethan English in it and has
It's straight
verbatim.
up, it has
Can I
copied
finish a
text. Yeah,
sentence?
yeah.
It
You're
has
telling
Elizabethan.
Mike, why don't you not tell me things I already know?
Well, I'm trying to get your answer
Do
as to
you
how
think,
it is.
no, do you think, yeah, here's the thing, Mike. Again, there is tomes of articles and research and studies and papers that have been written for decades on all of these issues. You've never read them. And I
Right.
don't
Well, if
really
they're
want to
Mormon,
sit, I don't really want and sit here and have you pretend to ask me questions that are disingenuous about things that you can easily research yourself and
well,
pretend
okay.
like
Can
what?
I
You
tell
think
you
you're
my
educating
conclusion
me?
then?
Do you think you're educating me?
I'm asking you a question to clear up something that doesn't make sense to me.
That that
How
there
can
that
answer
portions
me
of
a
the King
question?
James version of the Bible are copied into the Book of Mormon? What's hard about that?
Because it wasn't written when the Book of Mormon was written.
No, obviously the King James Bible wasn't written when the Book of Mormon was written, but what would that have to do with anything?
So how did the King James Bible verbatim?
You can't reason,
Can
can
I
you?
finish it? Sentence.
No, you can't reason, can you?
I'm a very reason. I told you officially I have a pretty
Okay,
decent.
okay, all right. You say you've read the Book of Mormon.
Yes. Well, I
Okay.
can't remember the stuff. It was so boring.
So if the Isaiah passages, for example, found in Second Nephi, are copied directly from the King James Bible, which they're
Yeah.
not, there's variations in them, but let's say that they were copied directly for
Well,
the
that-
sake of simplifying the argument for you. Let's say that they were copied exactly word for word from the King James Bible into the Book of Mormon. Why would that be?
That means that Joseph Smith used his own King James Version Bible to write to translate the Book of Mormon, whereas the Book of Mormon
And
hadn't
why
been
why
written.
would he do that?
Can I
Why would he
finish
do?
the sentence?
No, because your argument doesn't make sense in light of the text.
You never let me finish my argument.
Yeah, you're making an argument that's not responsive to my question. I don't
What
think
is
you
my
listened to my
argument?
question.
You tell me what
You're
my argument is.
you're not listening to my question. I don't care what your argument is because your argument is not
I know
responsive
that.
to my question. My question isn't that. Why would somebody copy the Isaiah passages from the King James Bible into the Book of Mormon, predicated on what the Book of Mormon is? Why would they do that?
Joseph Smith just making up stuff.
Okay. You don't think that that's the dumbest? You don't think that's the dumbest thing you could come up with based on what the text is?
I'm going to try to finish a sentence here. How does whoever wrote the Book of Mormon, all those people, prophets, whatever, before like 400, how do they jump ahead and pick out passages from a book that hasn't been written yet?
You can't be this dumb, Mike. You can't be. You can't possibly be this dumb.
Well, then tell me.
Okay.
So the people who wrote, I'm trying to understand.
Again, in the Book of Mormon, when there's the Isaiah passages, why are they there?
Did the people in the Book of Mormon
why are they there, Mike? You said you've read the Book of Mormon. Yeah. Why are the Isaiah passages in the Book of Mormon?
Because I think because Joseph Smith copied them from his New James.
No. Why are those passages?
Why are they in there?
Okay, the portions of the King James Bible that are allegedly copied, not word for word, they're changed quite a bit, but the portions of it account for less than 20% of the total text.
Well, that's 20%.
Yeah, that's 20%. It's
20% plagiarism.
It's less than 100 pages. It's not plagiarism.
How could it not be?
Because it identifies the source.
Can you, Jesus, you're just a
Mike,
bull,
Mike, it is not plagiarism. It is not plagiarism when you identify the source from which you drew the material.
So the Book of Mormon says, how could you draw material on a book that hasn't been written yet?
Because you're drawing. No, it's not the question. Because
yes, it is. That is the question.
I think you're too narrow-minded to understand
you're missing
the actual
point.
question you should
you're
be
missing
asking.
the point.
Again, this is why I'm saying you need to read more. You need to read more to understand what the actual point is. Okay, so in the Book of Mormon is how many pages?
I don't know, 600?
It's 531 pages.
Yeah,
so in a 531 page text, less than 20% of it, about 18% of it, reflects King James content.
Okay, we agree. All right, so far we agree.
All right, where did the other 80% come from?
That's not the point. We're talking about
it is the point. Where did the other 80% come from?
It is not the point. We're talking about the 20%.
It is the point, Mike.
It is not the point.
You don't think it's the point.
The 20%. How did they get there?
The fact that you don't think it's the point doesn't change the fact it's the point.
The fact that you're denying
where did the other 80%? Where did the other 80% come from? Because it must have come from somewhere.
That's not
if Joseph Smith has to copy about 18% of the text, so less than 100 pages, if he has to copy those out of the King James Bible, he still has 440 pages he still has to come up with of text. Where did that 400 pages come from?
From Joseph Smith's mind.
Okay, so if he was able to generate out of his memory or out of his ass 400 pages of text, why would he have had to copy 100 pages out of the King James Bible? I'll tell you why. Because it's relevant material that fits in with the story. Because that's what it states. So, for example, in the Isaiah passages, the prophet Nephi is
trying to understand, and you're interrupting.
The prophet Nephi is speaking messianically. So he is referencing specific chapters of Isaiah that are considered messianic predictions. And he is identifying them, and he is dialoguing with them into his narrative because he's writing it for the purposes of contextualizing Isaiah in the process of knowing that the Christ, the Messiah, is going to come, and he is specifically identifying those texts as messianic. That is the functional purpose of containing those Isaiah texts in the Book of Mormon. Now, if you were more sophisticated, you could come up with a much better argument to criticize the Book of Mormon, but you're not that sophisticated. So here's the issue. So he copies the Isaiah passages in there because Nephi says, the text of the Book of Mormon says, and now I am going to quote Isaiah, which is what the texts are. So if you identify the source of the text, it's not plagiarism because he identifies them as Isaiah. Joseph Smith, even if he wrote the Book of Mormon, is not claiming that the Isaiah chapters are his. He's claiming these are Isaiah.
You're a lousy teacher. You go by your pace instead of mine. I'm trying to follow what you're saying, and every time I try to adjust to it and see what you're saying, you keep on going.
It's very simple. It's very simple.
I still don't understand how the people who wrote the Book of Mormon, how did they, and why do they write in Elizabethan English when they haven't even,
they
looked ahead in the future?
They don't, you cretin.
Is not the Book of Mormon written in Elizabethan English?
It's translated into Elizabethan English.
All right, so
it wasn't written in that.
All right, that's one.
Okay, so why is the Hebrew Bible and the Greek New Testament written in Elizabethan English? Because that's what it is every time I open up my King James Bible. Why is it Elizabethan English? That must mean that the Bible was written in 1611.
Because it was written by that. Because it was written by them, so that's what you would expect.
So apply the same critical thinking, you Nimrod. If I have a book
you just called me a Nimrod,
translated, right? Yes. If I have a text that's translated into a specific language, why wouldn't I use that language?
How did the writers get the King James Version?
They're not doing that, you
They
cretin.
didn't get it.
No.
Joseph
they
Smith?
Wouldn't have been, again, no. You're impossibly naive. And I just don't think there's any point in talking to you any further because you literally can't understand. The Book of Mormon is written in some unknown language.
Okay, I'll stop
translated.
Okay, fine.
Stop talking.
Okay.
Stop talking. You're too simple.
Okay.
You are interrupting me. I'm going to finish. No.
I got that.
The Book of Mormon is not written in English. It's written in some unknown language.
Okay.
Then Joseph Smith in 1827 up through 1829. In 1829, he is taking an ancient language and translating it into 1829 understanding language that is consistent with the people that he's writing to. He's taking this one and he's putting it into this one. That's called translation.
So the Elizabethan English. That's
like asking, why would Charles Dickens, when he quotes from other sources, use their language? Why would any translator of any document translate? Why would they do that? Why would document translators translate?
So why would he put it in Elizabeth? Why doesn't he put it in American English instead of Elizabeth?
He put it in the biblical language, the scriptural
the Bible
language
that was popular then.
Right.
So all right. So let me see if I understand you.
The entire Book of Mormon is written in that same 17th century.
You are such a bully.
The entire Book of Mormon is written in the same 17th century language, and that's really hypocritical of you, Mike. I've seen your videos. Especially when you redact them and you edit in your language, your little commentary after the fact, where you don't even let the person finish their question, the question you asked them. Instead, you redact it out and then add in commentary afterwards. That's incredibly disingenuous.
They had nothing more to say. They had finished.
Okay. They had nothing more to say. So even though I continued after my commentary, so I inserted commentary, and then I continued with a completely different segment of the same conversation. Because I don't get to hear the answers. I don't get to hear what they had to say.
Yes. Oh, you're a liar. That is it. I put all their stuff in. I didn't cut stuff out unless it was completely irrelevant. They started talking about their dog or something.
And then you provided ancillary commentary criticizing their answers, but not what you said to them in the time. You went and looked up what you could comment on after the fact. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? That's really dishonest.
You think that's dishonest?
I think it's incredibly dishonest. It was really dishonest.
I don't talk like you do. I don't call people stupid.
Yeah, you do.
No, I call certain ideas stupid.
That's what I've been doing. You're not paying
Do you think
attention.
animal sacrifices is not stupid?
No, I don't
Oh,
think animal
I know you're,
sacrifices are
that was
stupid
back then.
because I'm not a vegan.
All right, let's see if I can get one more
Hey,
point
let me
in.
ask you this, Mike. Here's
Yeah.
another example of a stupid argument you're making.
Yeah.
What did people in the ancient world do with animal sacrifices? How did those function? Tell me the process.
They cleaned it. They tried to get a perfect one. They cleaned it. Sometimes they ate the animal. Sometimes they didn't.
No, what? No, no.
No.
Do you not understand how animal sacrifices were performed in the ancient world, and yet you're being critical of it and thinking it's barbaric?
Well, I think it's barbaric.
What did
Why are
they
you
do?
killing
What was the
animals?
tell me about how to sacrifice a sheep in
Oh,
a
you cut
lamb.
its
When they
throat.
sacrificed a lamb, and then what did they do?
Well, there you go. I don't even have to go any further. That's mean.
What did they do?
That's mean. You're ignoring what
Why
I
would
said.
that be mean?
Well, how would you like to have your throat cut?
How did the Israelites do it? They cut
With a
their
knife.
throats and yeah, right. And how did the other people who are not Israelites, how did they do it?
I don't know. Probably
They
the same way.
strangled them. They strangled them.
Well, that means they were assholes also.
Right. So you don't believe anybody should ever eat meat.
No, I don't know. No,
You're a vegan.
that's a tough issue, but you,
Again, so now
why,
finish the explanation. Finish the
I'm going to try to
explanation of
finish the
Israelite.
sentence. Why,
Finish the explanation of Israelite process or sacrifice for
why
sacrificing
do I have to
animals.
explain it? All I
Because you
know is
don't
they
know
killed
it.
animals
You don't know it.
to appease God.
Yeah, and what did they do with them?
That's the basic idea. They killed
What
animals.
did they do with them, Mike?
Did they not kill them to appease God?
Yes, they killed them in sacrifice to
Don't
God.
you
And then
think
what did
that's
they do?
terrible?
Tell me the process, Mike.
No, that's
You don't know
irrelevant.
it. You don't have
It's
any idea, do
cruel.
you?
It wasn't
You
a
don't have any
specific.
idea. It's
I have
it's
some idea.
cruel
They
to
used a
kill an
knife.
animal. It's cruel to kill animals.
It's pointless to kill an animal if you're not going to eat it.
Okay,
Look,
so again, tell me the process of sacrificing a lamb in ancient Israel. What did they do?
I don't know if I could guess at it, but they put it up on an altar. They
Again,
burned it.
no, they didn't.
No.
No, they drained the blood, which they used.
Yeah. Okay. I know that.
They sheared the animal and they skinned it, which they used. They took its entrails and they burned those with blood on the altar. And then they took the animal and they butchered it. And then they either ate the meat or they sold the meat or they returned it to the person who brought the animal in the first place. That's ancient priests were butchers. They produced meat. It's why Paul, which you haven't read the Bible, it's why Paul in Corinthians is having a problem with certain people and they're asking the question about whether or not they can eat the meat that's being sacrificed by other faiths. So
Yeah.
pagans are killing animals by strangling them, and then they're sacrificing them to Zeus or whoever. And the converts to Christianity are wondering, can we eat that meat?
Yeah.
Because that was the only source of protein that they could get. Most people were too poor to get meat, but they could get it from the priests of the various different religions because the sacrificial use of animals was the easiest way to process meat because the priests were professional butchers. Again, you think it's wrong to kill animals.
Will you please shut up for a minute?
No, again, your argument doesn't make sense because you think
Let me tell you why.
they
You don't
cut
get
the
my
lamb's
argument.
they cut the lamb's throat and threw it up on an altar, burned it. No, that's not what
Sometimes,
they do.
I don't know.
No, that's not sometimes. That's not what they do.
But the point is this: it pleased God to smell the burning meat.
No,
It was
to
a sweet
smell the
aroma to God.
offering. Yes, they anointed it with things and then they threw its entrails. They took its insides out and they put those on the altar and they burned them. That's how they did it. The actual animal, they butchered it and they distributed its meat, or the priests took that valuable meat and they ate it. They took it home to their families. In fact, it was a common payment method to pay the priest for for the service of butchering the meat. It's like, I'm the butcher. I get to keep some of this. Is it real barbaric now? Is it so barbaric now?
Not necessarily on the, to
Is it
slit their
evil?
throat, yeah.
Okay, what were they supposed to do with them? Poison them? Shoot them?
Hit them in the head when they're asleep, so it goes fast.
Oh, okay. So pound them in the head with what? A rock?
Yeah, or a hammer.
An air compressor? A hammer?
They
Who has
should,
hammers?
they have big rocks.
Oh, okay. Again, so like I said, you think it's more humane to bash a sheep in the head with a rock than it is to slit their throats and have them
Yeah,
bleed out
if you're
and
able
bleed
to
out in
kill,
20 seconds.
if you're
Again,
able,
you think it's better to bash their head in with a rock than it is to slit their throats and have them bleed out in 30 seconds. Israelites practiced bleeding them because it was the most humane way to kill an animal back then. See, that's
I'm
the
not so
problem.
sure about
You
that.
are literally deciding things without any research to back it up.
I
And
don't
yet
have
you
to have
claim
research to know
to
when
be a
somebody
real,
grabs a
I
sheep
know you
and
don't have
starts
to have
cutting its throat,
research.
that's
You don't have to have research. You just have to use your common sense and your reason, which is
right.
why you will
In many
remain
cases.
eternally ignorant on these issues, Mike.